Yeah, what is up, YouTube? It's the theme of the News Underground. Banshee, Unload My Nine. That's it. That's the theme right there. Every news program needs one of those themes. I need to start injecting more. Like when I end a segment, I need to have like a sound effect that plays when the segment is done, you know, like a real news organization. We're also going to be getting more animations. I'm going to be getting some animated lower third stuff happening soon here, so you can expect that. Big improvements coming. Might even be able to get a 3D logo. Might get the News Underground logo in the bottom left there, a full 3D cube, rotating and distracting the hell out of you. Very important. They've been doing it since the 80s, folks. You gotta have some movement. You gotta have some shit happening. I'm gonna install 6 more news crawls. We're just gonna have news crawls across the entire screen. No, not a single goddamn person, by the way, has mentioned the news ticker. Hope you enjoy it. No one does. Too bad. It stays. Moving on to South Africa news here. Major issue. South Africa's president, Ramaphosa, we'll see if I pronounce that correctly, says its energy crisis is in an existential threat to South Africa's economy and social fabric. He's promising to bring the daily power cuts, quote, to an end, but already the country has experienced hours of blackouts almost every day this year. So let's check it out here.
On the roads,
from BBC.
At work too, and it's taking its toll.
9 hours, 10 hours of no electricity as it
Ooh.
rotates around the country. It's really very devastating to the country to have
9-10 hours of no electricity. I mean, ask yourself what that would do if that was happening on the regular in your neighborhood.
electricity turned off.
Yeah, Chem Goblin, that's a great point as well. Ukraine is also a country that defeated the Nazis. You know, great point. Great point. It's just from an American perspective, you know, you're coming from the Ukrainian perspective, and it's like, yeah, these guys have always been a joke. My RSS app oh my God, I gotta pay for this too. What the hell is this? RSS.app trial has expired. Whatever. Anyway, back to the story.
Maybe devastating, but it's not a surprise.
Well, this is a disaster.
Right, let's back it up.
The country.
Start it out correctly here.
9 hours, 10 hours of no electricity as it rotates around the country. It's really very devastating to the country to have electricity turned off.
It may be devastating, but it's not a surprise.
Well, this is a disaster of South Africa's own making, because there were calls, there were warnings from many years ago, not even just 20 years, but dating back.
But the warnings weren't heeded. And this is the point that South Africa has reached. Last year, there were planned power cuts on 205 days. This year, it's already 129. That's every single day except 2. And these power cuts can last for hours. They're needed because the system can't meet demand. Without them, the whole system could collapse.
Wow.
People would experience a week without any electricity at all.
Wow.
And that's going to affect things like communications. It's like an enforced national shutdown.
This hasn't happened yet, but regular power cuts are now part of life. And to explain why, we need to look at South Africa's coal-fired power stations. They account for 86% of the electricity it produces.
Hey, welcome back, Chem Goblin,
but they're struggling to keep up.
Dion, and Equal
The state
Dari.
power utility Eskom admits they're unreliable. One consultancy says they're run exceptionally hard and under-maintained. And this connects the decisions reaching back years. For the last 29 of them, the African National Congress, the ANC, has been in power. In 1999, Thabo Mbeki succeeded Nelson Mandela as president. 9 years later, he admitted, when Eskom said to the government, we think we must invest more in terms of electricity generation, we said no. We were wrong. Eskom was right. Or as the broadcaster Reddy
Don't you love it when these leaders say shit like that after they're out of power? The shit that, you know, people were screaming to them. Because I bet you, I bet you there was, when he was like, no, we're not going to do that. Right? Don't you love it when world leaders are like, oh yeah, we really should have done that. That thing that we were fucking shouting at you from the, from the bottom of the, from way back in the bleachers, right? Hey, do this thing. Oh man, we really should have done that thing in retrospect. Bill Clinton does that all the time. It drives me nuts.
He puts it,
Eskom anticipated, they projected, they knew that South Africa would run out of energy unless it made the necessary investments. The government ignored them.
in 2007, though, after years of warnings,
Sorry to hear that, Chem Goblin. Please find your way to safety and let us know once you're back, that you made it safe, please. Sorry to hear that. Chem Goblin, if anyone doesn't know, Chem Goblin currently lives in Ukraine and is, of course, dealing with, daily threats from Russia. Don't worry, we'll be covering Ukraine near the end of the stream. A big hour, probably 2 hour long segment on Ukraine. So look forward to that. Hey, welcome back. Reflecticus. You sound like a Batman villain.
the government did act. Construction began on 2 enormous coal power stations.
Yeah, let's back it up a little bit here.
Investments. The government would run out of. Eskom anticipated, they projected, they knew that South Africa would run out of energy unless it made the necessary investments. The government ignored them.
In 2007, though, after years of warnings, the government did act. Construction began on 2 enormous coal power stations. But this hasn't gone to plan.
Ultimately, the design turned out to be a flop. Not only did they turn out to cost more than double of what they were projected initially.
They don't buy a regular one. They buy a fancy experimental coal-fired power plant. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Great leaders. Awesome job. Really killing it.
They also took roughly double as long to actually be built.
The ANC has sought to distance itself from the process. It said of one contract, the ANC has not participated in the said transaction. Wherever the blame lies, after 16 years, these power stations are not at capacity. Last year, the Kusile plant had to be partially shut down after a chimney collapsed. In 2021, an explosion at the Medupi plant damaged the generator. Work goes on at both to fix.
Corruption has real-world results. There are ramifications to corruption. To the Americans and the people in Canada and the United Kingdom and France and all the other like rich Western countries, corruption actually does affect you, because there's this like separation between people and corruption. And they just, oh yeah, both sides do it. And they hand wave it away. No. It affects your life. And eventually it can get bad enough where you see just a complete breakdown of what's expected of, your leaders in terms of what they can do for maintaining society. Wow.
Fix the problems. And the overall challenge of electricity production connects to something else too, corruption. And there were new allegations earlier this year. The source was Andre de Ruyter, who until February was CEO of Eskom. According to South Africa's News 24, Mr. de Ruyter is now believed to be staying in Germany. He left South Africa earlier this year after he'd given an interview. And in it, he claimed at least 4 organised crime cartels are operating in Eskom and that someone had put cyanide in his coffee in an attempted murder. The BBC can't verify that claim. And Mr. de Ruyter went on.
My rough estimate of the amount of money that gets stolen in Eskom every month is in the region of R1 billion. Wow. Every month.
R1 billion is about $55 million. $55 million a month. And this is the BBC's Nomsa Maseka on a conversation that Mr. de Ruyter alleges that he had.
When he questioned the powers that be, particularly from the governing party, he was told, allow the comrades to eat.
In its response to Andre de Ruyter, the ANC said,
yeah, I mean, and like nuclear power plants are not nearly as bad as coal-fired powered plants, but yeah, no, it happens everywhere, right? People, they make these short-term decisions. They put money in their pocket or power in their, on their side or whatever the trade is. But there is, bad shit happens when we let these guys just, insult us. Let them wet their beaks. That's a good one.
Said it rejected his unfortunate, irresponsible and baseless claims of alleged political meddling and corruption at the embattled power utility. It says allegations about the ANC are false and that it's suing him for defamation. It adds, we will challenge him for saying our party is corrupt and failing to prove how.
Yeah, no.
But Mr. de Ruyter isn't alone.
They'll put all their effort and time into fighting allegations again. Oh, yeah, and spinning, we got to spin this story. Let's put all our time and effort into that. But let's not figure out a way to actually provide power to the millions of people that are in my country.
Connecting the power cuts to allegations of malpractice.
Money was set aside, billions, to give to the power utility to invest in new coal stations, generating power capacity, bringing in expertise, and so on. It is that money that was looted and stolen under corruption.
Yeah. And corruption.
And I love to see, because if you've seen the show, when I talk about Africa, I'm like, we got to talk about the corruption. This is out of hand. Right. There's like, okay, we give them tens of millions of dollars a year in aid, and they're not even building bridges and like sewage systems. And as you can see here, power, and it's like, okay, this is out of hand. Okay. This isn't racism, right? This isn't the big bad Western countries coming in and, ruining their country, because that stuff exists. But I mean, there's also this major flipping problem of corruption. And, what the hell are we going to do about it?
Been documented by a vast judicial inquiry. Last year it found 14.7 billion rand.
Does Whitey have a mandate to do something about it, right? We got to have these debates. We got to have this discussion.
Eskom's contracts are calculated to have been afflicted by state capture. In other words, by corruption. That's more than $900 million, much of it looted during the 2010s, when Jacob Zuma was president. Mr. Zuma's always denied corruption allegations.
Oh, but denied,
more broadly, this inquiry
then he drives away in his Rolls Royce and gets on his private jet.
And that's why the power cuts
are about
much more
money
than
falls out of his mouth.
So the power crisis in this country is one small example of the true picture of what South Africa is currently going through, be it corruption, be it crime, be it mismanagement.
South Africa's current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has talked of his commitment to fighting corruption. That is long-term work, as is addressing South Africa's power capacity and reducing its reliance on coal. But right now, the power cuts are happening, and they're coming at a cost.
And because of you see how it is in the third world. This is why climate activists need to get a little nuance and really have a much broader message here. Right, because just say no to oil, or just say no to coal, and it's like, could we have electricity? Right, we're not really too concerned about that. So climate activists need to understand that there's a pretty wide disparity, and a lot of them would acknowledge that. But the what is it, the just say no, or to the oil, or no more oil, or whatever the message is. I love their spunk, but I hate that message. It feels really flippant and like simplistic and hand wavy, just stop digging for oil, stop making gas and using oil. It's like, well, guys, it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Electricity shortage in particular, the rate of economic growth is often close to 1%, sometimes less than 1%, and is actually less than our population growth rate.
As all of this plays out, South Africa heads into what the government calls an exceptionally difficult winter, and it's reiterated its determination to get to grips with the crisis. But on power cuts, or load shedding as it's called, there have been promises before.
There will never be load shedding again.
That's not what happened.
Yeah.
And this illustrates why, to some commentators, this is a story of long-term political failure.
The problem here is a lack of leadership and short-sightedness, where political expediency was put above the well-being of the nation. And that's why the economy and the people of South Africa are paying such a heavy price.
Yeah, where have
the
I heard all
ANC
that
would deny
before?
Its interests are anything other than South Africa's, but it doesn't deny the severity of the moment.
The energy crisis is an existential threat to our economy and to the social fabric of our country.
Yeah, well,
and so,
I'm glad
while this
someone's
is a story
talking about
specific to South Africa, there's a broader lesson here, that systems do have breaking points, moments when the state can no longer provide for the people it serves, moments that are almost always years in the making.
Yeah, basically nothing special. I like the name, but yeah, no, basically nothing special. What I'm talking about is just when you're saying, look, the government, like our governments need to drop, this idea of clean coal. We need to get away from fossil fuels into renewables. All I'm asking is that they also add, and you need to do something for the third world to help them get away from their fossil fuel usage, because they have no choice. It's like when India gets friendly with Russia, because it's like, yeah, we need the oil. Okay, it's all well and good, we like Ukraine, but we need the oil, the crude oil that they're providing, and we can refine it on pennies on the dollar and make an incredible profit. Anyway, that's my South Africa update. And it was I wanted to show this because it's professionals, talking about this instead of jackasses like me. But, just pointing out that it's the corruption, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like for the longest time and left, and I'm seeing a lot of faults in the activist left when it comes to how naive some of the messaging is, like with Medea Benjamin and all the rest when it comes to Ukraine, just how all violence is bad. And then it's like, well, you do acknowledge you're appeasing a tyrant, by saying that we should, capitulate to them. And it's like, it's very naive. It's just very naive to me. So, anyway, that's my South Africa update. Thank you so much, YouTube. I could have ended that better.